coordination. That just really rung out to me, that word of this. That's what seems like, it feels like in listening. So in listening to everybody speak and all the different threads that are cohering and coming in and coming apart and then being at the center of John's head, which I would recommend.
Not too often.
Ask myself, like, what am I doing when I'm participating in that way? I feel like I've become a better coordinator. I'm coordinating things. This kind of this is the vulnerability part of where even right now, I'm just right at the edge of a thought and I could fall over, right? But there's something I'm listening to and I'm tuning into. I'm looking at all of your faces. You're kind of being back and forth. How does coordination come into play with this? Because whatever it is, it feels like that's what I'm doing in what it takes to listen and engage and participate on this.
Well, I think there's a phenomenological and a cog sci. I'll start briefly because I'd like to hear what Jordan says, because Guy, I see both you and Jordan as being masters of what you've just put your fingers on. I think, and I mean this with a lot of respect. The two of you, one of the things that I deeply value and appreciate is exactly that. I'm not trying to say that's the only thing, but one of the things that often stands out to me is I'll stand back and I'll go, wow, that, like something like what you just articulated, that coordination. Phenomenologically, I want to propose one aspect of it, that the coordination seems to mean that there's a sense in which the trusting is becoming embodied. We're trusting that part of us that's participating in the da'af. And so that there's a trust. Like when I'm sparring or doing the Tai Chi, there's that sense, the coordination. I have to trust in that participation in the da'af. Speaking as a cognitive scientist, which is a different thing, and so I want to be careful here about keeping the balance between theory and theoria. But we're talking about, I think, a kind of exaptation. We're taking the cerebellum, which functioned for literal sensory motor coordination, and we now having increasing evidence of this, that it gets exapted to coordinate any complex set of contingencies that it's encountering, not just sensory motor contingencies. So what we're doing, and this is why you have practices like Tai Chi Chuan, the idea is you put your system through sensory motor challenge, but you do it in such a ritualized, and I'm using that term deliberately, such a ritualized context that it affords exapting the cerebellum to trace complex contingencies in your environment, complex contingencies in your cognition, complex contingencies in your communication. And I think those two go together, because when I can trust in the participation, I sort of sink into my embodiment, and I think that helps trigger the exaptation of the cerebellum function. That's how I would answer that. But